In the western region of Africa, in a quaint yet proud Ghanaian village called Owusu, a wedding took place that quickly became the talk of the town. Amma, a smart, confident, and educated young woman from the city, had just married Kweku, a quiet, respectful man known for one thing: being the only son of the infamous Mama Bintu. Amma believed that marriage was the beginning of a new chapter, full of love, growth, and family. But what she didn't know was that her biggest challenge wouldn't be adjusting to village life, but surviving her new mother-in-law. Mama Bintu wasn't just a traditional woman, she was a storm wrapped in colorful fabric and opinions. She had a mouth sharper than a razor, a stare that could silence birds, and a belief that no woman would ever be good enough for her Kweku. Every day, Amma was met with jabs masked as wisdom. "Amma, there's not enough salt in your stew. Do they not teach cooking in the city? These city girls know how to paint their faces but not how to sweep a floor. In my day, we were up at 4 a.m. You wake like a lazy hen." Amma listened. She smiled. She endured. But inside, something fragile was beginning to crack. Kweku loved Amma. He truly did. But whenever Mama Bintu spoke, his lips stitched themselves shut. His voice, so soft, so unsure, never rose against his mother. "Mema, please," he would whisper when things got too much. But please was a word Mama Bintu only used when demanding more food. Then came the invitation, Mama Bintu's sister's birthday in Kumasi. The entire family was to travel together. And Mama Bintu, as usual, took control. "Everyone will go by train. And Amma will sit next to me," she declared with a smile that meant trouble. "She has a lot to learn." Amma froze. She looked at Kweku. He tried to give her a comforting glance, but even his eyes were tired. She knew there was no escape. At the station, the sun was unforgiving and the crowd restless. Mama Bintu was in rare form. "Look at your bag, Amma. Are you moving out or attending a party?" Amma said nothing. The train arrived with a long screech and they boarded. Amma took the window seat. Mama Bintu slid in beside her like a queen taking her throne. As the train rolled out of the station, Mama Bintu leaned close and whispered in Amma's ear, her breath warm and sharp. "You think you've made it, marrying my son. But I see right through you. You're not a wife. You're an opportunist. And as long as I'm alive, you will never run this house." Amma looked out the window. Her hands trembled in her lap. But in her eyes, there was a flicker, a silent, growing fire. Something was changing. Something quiet but fierce. The train picked up speed. And maybe fate was picking up its pace, too. The train rattled through the countryside, winding past green hills and dusty villages. Inside, the atmosphere between Amma and Mama Bintu was thicker than the heat outside. Passengers laughed, napped, read newspapers, but in that one particular seat, war was silently brewing. Mama Bintu, unfazed, continued her tirade. She pulled out roasted peanuts and began crunching them loudly, occasionally tossing shells out the window, one nearly hitting a man on a motorcycle. "You sit too quietly, Amma. That's not how a good wife behaves. A wife must engage. A wife must obey. You sit there like a ghost." Amma forced a smile. Her jaw was clenched so tight her teeth ached. Mema Bintu turned her attention to a woman across the aisle and said loudly, "Back in my day, we had real women. My son's wife. She stares at the window like she's searching for the life she left behind." People chuckled politely. Amma looked down at her hands. Her nails were digging into her palm. Suddenly, the train jolted. A sharp turn ahead. Mema Bintu lost balance slightly, then scoffed and adjusted her wrapper. Amma turned to her, her voice calm and cold. "Do you ever get tired, Mama?" Mema Bintu raised an eyebrow. "Tired of what?" "Tired of fighting ghosts that don't exist. Tired of trying to stay queen in a kingdom no one's attacking." Mema Bintu's expression stiffened. "Are you answering back now?" "I'm just wondering," Amma said, almost softly, "if you ever realize how lonely it must be to sit on a throne you built with bricks of bitterness." There was silence. A few nearby passengers grew quiet, subtly turning ears toward the conversation. "You think you're smart," Mama Bintu hissed. "You city girls always do. But let me remind you, my son belongs to me." The train took another bend. This time, it swayed harder. A glass bottle rolled down the aisle. Mema Bintu stood up slightly, reaching for the rack above to grab her handbag. As she stood, the train shifted again, and she stumbled, one hand grabbing the seat, the other grabbing at Amma's shoulder for balance. Amma flinched, instinctively pushing the hand away. And then it happened. In a blur of motion, Mama Bintu tipped sideways toward the open train door that someone had failed to close properly after using the tiny corridor toilet. A sharp scream ripped through the carriage, one brief, piercing cry, and then silence. The train kept moving. People stood up. Someone pulled the emergency brake. Screams followed. Confusion. Chaos. Amma sat frozen, her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes were wide, her body still. Passengers rushed around her, asking what happened. Someone was shouting, "She fell." The old woman fell. Another added, "Was she pushed?" Amma said nothing. Her silence said everything. And yet, nothing at all. Kweku came running from another carriage, breathless and pale. "Where's my mother?" Amma looked up at him. Her eyes wet, but her expression unreadable. She lost her balance," she whispered. Kweku collapsed to his knees, clutching his head. People crowded around, some whispering, others asking questions. But Amma heard only the pounding of her own heart. And the train, now stopped, resting on its tracks, caught between a past that refused to die and a future yet to be written. 2 hours later, the train stood idle on the tracks as police and railway officials scoured the area near the bend where Mama Bintu had fallen. Passengers were asked to disembark. Statements were being taken. A medic wiped blood from the floor near the open door, while others tried to calm Kweku, who was still in shock. Amma sat on a wooden bench beside the tracks, her face pale, her hands folded neatly on her lap. An officer walked up to her. "Madam, we need your version of what happened. The passengers say you were the last one with her." She nodded slowly. She stood to reach her bag. The train shook. She grabbed my shoulder and lost balance. I didn't expect it. It happened so fast." The officer studied her for a long moment. "Did you push her?" Emma's eyes flicked up, steady and unreadable. "No," she said. "She fell." But the words hung heavy in the air. Not quite a lie. Not quite the full truth either. Kweku approached, red-eyed and broken. "Amma, did you argue with her?" She looked at him, tears threatening to fall. "She argued. I listened. Like I always do." He searched her face for something. For guilt, for remorse, for rage, for relief, but found only exhaustion. She looked like someone who had been drowning for years and had finally surfaced, only to find herself gasping in a desert. The days that followed were a blur of investigation, whispers, and grief. The village mourned Mama Bintu's passing, though not everyone did so sincerely. Some said it was a tragedy. Others said it was fate. A few muttered that maybe, just maybe, she had it coming. The case was eventually closed. No evidence of foul play. An accident, they said. The file was stamped and shelved. But in Owusu, people talked. In corners of the market, behind cooking pots and under mango trees, the story grew larger than the truth ever was. They said the new bride pushed the old queen off her throne, literally. They said the ghost of Mama Bintu now haunts every train headed to Kumasi, whispering into the ears of young brides, warning them never to let go of their power. And Amma, she lived on. Quietly. Peacefully. But some nights, when the wind howled like a screaming train, she would wake with a jolt, remembering the feel of that hand on her shoulder. And the way she had brushed it off, so small, so swift, and so final. Because sometimes, silence is the loudest confession of all.